Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Steel Lab. My name is James Shelton, and I'm here today with Tim Crispin, who is the owner of Stage Volume Entertainment. He's also our video editor and producer on the series for the Steel Labs. So when you watch our videos, he's the guy that makes all that neat behind-the-scenes stuff happen.
Why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about what we're going to do next on the Steel Lab?
All right. We had several people ask us about practice habits, things, about what we do, they should be doing in their daily practice routines to kind of maximize their time. All of us are limited in how much time we can invest in that. So I think that's going to be our next topic, Tim, is we're going to try to address some of the folks' questions that have written in and asked us about how to get the best out of their practice time. People asking about things like speed drills so that they can literally get up to speed. And we also had some people ask us about volume pedal technique, which is a topic that seems to have been overlooked a lot in the instruction world. So we're going to see if we can tackle that as well.
Why don't you talk a little bit about just of the original ideas and some other stuff that you had already thought about even before we did the very first video? Sure.
Well, some of the things that... I try to take the feedback that I get from people out in the real world when we're out playing shows, just questions that people ask. And so some of the things that people have asked about in the past that I'd like to address is like effects. So, I want to do a video where we sort of address the, what different types of effects I use and how I set them up and, what works good for what kinds of situations and tunes and that sort of thing.
There's one on scales.
Yeah, oh yeah, scales. Well, even though a lot of us don't like to sit there and do it because it's a little bit laborious, the truth of the matter is there simply is no better musical exercise than playing the major scale. So, especially early steel players, people that are just getting started on the instrument, we want to make sure that they have a good understanding about proper fingering technique for scales and, the fact that they need to be doing that sort of thing, with their metronome or just any good rhythm reference, because staying in time is so important when you're doing all that thing. Absolutely. So, that's definitely a topic we're going to address.
And so I would like for you to share with people just the motivation behind why you're doing this whole thing in the first place.
Well, Tim, there's actually quite a few reasons. One of the biggest reasons is because, when I started out playing, I received an enormous amount of support from the steel guitar community at large. I was a young kid surrounded by a lot of older guys who had been there and done that, and they really all kind of took me in and shared their experience and their knowledge with me, which was absolutely invaluable. So one of the reasons that I wanted to do this series was to sort of pay that idea forward, to give, if there's some young up-and-coming players out there in the world, I'd like for them to have the same kind of opportunities that I got when it came to, people just being so willing to help. I'm very concerned at this stage of the history of the pedal steel about its future. And, I really want to see the instrument progress rather than fade away. And, we've sort of reached a point in the history of the pedal steel now where a lot, if not most, of the first generation masters have kind of gone on. And there are fewer and fewer people stepping in to take their place. And I'd really like to somehow, if we can, if our series can help at all, I'd like to reverse that trend and get more people interested in the pedal steel and, more importantly, hopefully provide them with some guidelines that in the long run will make them more effective players so that when they go out in the world and start playing the instrument and being seen and being heard, that they will be an inspiration to the third or fourth generation of pedal steel players.
Even though I'm not a steel guitar player, I've truly enjoyed them. I'm excited to be a part of it. James is definitely, as you can tell, very experienced and dedicated to his instrument. Thank you very much for all of your support and for all the views.